I think we're just in a great age right now. We're in an age of information. And in an age of information, I think ignorance is a choice. I mean, what makes this so beautiful at this current time is that you don't need an authority, really, to gain information. You don't need a rabbi or a priest. You don't need a teacher or a doctor. People can access information through technology. So there's this kind of globalization going on where you keep things that have worked traditionally, but I don't think things will ever be the same again. And because there's such a pace, a quickening that's going on, that more things are happening in a shorter amount of time, that people have to stay informed. And certainly when I walked out into an audience 10 years ago, very different than when I walk out today, because everybody has information, and I can start at any level, and people have enough understanding that they're ready for it. But there comes a point where people start experiencing a greater level of wholeness. And when you start seeing that kind of coherence that goes on in the brain and coherence that goes on in the heart, and we measure this, when you feel so whole and so complete that you're happy with yourself, and you probably will want less. And you're less reliant on anything outside of you to bring you joy. And I think that kind of is who we are innately. Now, when you forget about yourself, you're moving into a very creative process. You're not thinking about what you look like. You're not thinking about what you eat. You're not thinking about your past or all your problems or your pain. You're not thinking about your name. In fact, you dissociate from everything that's known for you, and that's the creative process, stepping into the unknown. The stronger the emotion that you feel to some problem or some condition in your life or some person in your life, the more you pay attention to that person or problem. And if where you place your attention is where you place your energy, in fact, you're giving your power away to a lot of the problems in your life, because that's where your attention is. If you're in a routine of waking up every morning and running through the same behaviors that you did the day before, if you wake up in the morning and you have to think about your problems to feel the emotions that are connected to those memories of those problems are old circuits in your brain, and every problem has an emotion associated with it. If thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body, and how you think and how you feel is your state of being, most people's entire state of being is in the past. So then once they're living in the familiar past, we can know by fact that they're going to be in a predictable future. So then how do you get a person then to lower the volume to those emotions so that they can begin to take their attention off the problems in their life, and it's their attention and anticipation of how they expect it to show up that keeps their observation from a quantum model, the reality being the same. It's not your personality that's creating your personal reality. It's your personal reality that's creating your personality. You're at effect of your environment, and your environment is actually controlling your thoughts and feelings. So if you said to me, well, I'm angry today because of this person, I'm upset because of this problem, then what you're really saying, just from an objective standpoint, that person or that problem is actually controlling how I think and feel. Which means if I'm reacting to the conditions in my environment, then for the most part I'm a victim to my environment. But turning the battleship around, turning that model around, because how you think and how you feel should begin to produce an effect in your life if you were able to change it. So then people have to lay down the very thing that they've been using their entire life in the same way to get what they want for something greater to happen. So the first day is about overcoming ourselves. It's taking your attention off your environment, forgetting about your body and the emotions and pain and disease and whatever else, and get beyond that program of a predictable future and a familiar past, and get beyond the concept of linear time and fall into the present moment. And that formula then has a biological effect in the brain and body that we can actually anticipate, expect, predict when we see a person starting to overcome themselves. And after looking at enough brain scans, I saw then that people were able to get beyond themselves to move into that creative state. Well, think about it. Have you ever sat at your computer writing an article or reviewing something or studying, and you look up and it's 2.5 hours later and you have no idea where time went? You lost track of the space you were in and the predictable time of the next moment. And when you lose track of space and time, if where you place your attention is where you place your energy, and you have no attention in this three-dimensional reality, then all of your attention is in a realm of thought, and we would call that the quantum. So now, you can't enter the quantum field as a somebody. You have to enter as a nobody. So when you begin to get beyond yourself, what is your environment made of? People, objects, things, places, well, your body in space and time. So when you take your attention off all of those elements, you're disinvesting your attention and energy out of this three-dimensional reality, and you're placing your attention and energy in that field of possibilities. Now, what's the relevance of that? Well, think about it. Most people are their bodies trying to heal their bodies. Most people are their personality trying to change some aspect of their personality. They're trying to create some new future event, but they're wrapped up in the routine and program of how they live their life in the same ways. The truth is that we're all stuck in these programs, and they've lost their free will to a program because they run the same routine every single day. So,
without knowing it.
Without knowing it. So then you need a crisis or a disease or a loss or a betrayal or a shock or something, you finally wake up. From a biological standpoint, remembering your future is actually no different than remembering your past, and you can program your subconscious into that future. And so that helps people then to get clear on the future that they want to embrace, and it puts them in that right energetic or emotional state. So if you look at some of the research out of Yale University in the 40s, some really elegant researchers, they came across the understanding that most people think that it's matter that emits a field. But in actuality, it's the field that creates matter. In other words, they started studying and understanding that certain rodents with certain propensities for certain cancers had a very specific electromagnetic signature in their field. And every single rodent that had that signature in their field had the type of uterine cancer. But there were certain rodents that had the signature in the field that didn't develop the cancer yet, but they ultimately developed the cancer. So it wasn't matter that emits a field, it's the field that creates matter. So the question is, if you can change the field, can you change matter? But it's not about your physical body, if you're in shape, it's about your will, it's about your heart, it's about your soul. People that, with Alzheimer's and rheumatoid arthritis and spinal cord injuries, where they have every excuse not to do it. And I'm telling you, they accomplish that feat, and boy, oh boy, they're no longer in the subconscious belief that they're handicapped. And now their progress, their acceleration moves very quickly. So we do these challenges.
That handicap is the ultimate manifestation of what you're doing, because that is something they potentially manifested physically.
We're all handicapped.
Right.
We're all handicapped.
It's just those you can really see
the
the step change that happened, as opposed to if I figured something else out about my own construct about my life. That might take months to play out.
And plus, where would you wind up standing on a pole, as an example, 50 feet in the air?
One of the challenges.
And you have to stand up on a plate that's kind of wobbly, and then you have to turn around and jump. You can't tell me you're too old to do this. You can't tell me you're too sick to do this. You can't tell me you're too out of shape, too overweight, too underweight. You can't tell me you're not healthy. You can't tell me any of that stuff any longer, because I've seen all shapes and sizes do it. And so this community is being built where, instead of people competing and manipulating and backstabbing, you're seeing this community of cooperation and collaboration and built-in love and encouragement. It's emotional. I mean, it's just witnessing somebody doing something like that. It gives you permission to do the same. And then we get people standing up on the stage and telling their story about how they overcame stage 4 cancer. Not one person, not 2 people, 3 people. People overcome depression, people overcome whatever it is. And they're telling their story to the audience. And it's undeniable, and you're listening, and they don't look like a movie star. They're not buffed or in shape or young and perfect or whatever. They're just a common person. As you're listening to their story, and it's not all glorious, and it's not all you know, movie theme. They took some hard bumps. They lost things. They got bankrupt. I mean, they've had their challenges, and they never missed a day of their meditation.